All set.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll start by saying good morning to all of the students from all across Nova Scotia joining us this morning. We are excited to be talking to you all about birds and feeding birds and bringing birds into our yards so that we can learn more about them and see them around. And my name is Jeff. I'm a teacher and program specialist with Brilliant Labs here in Nova Scotia.
And I'm Sarah. I'm program director with Brilliant Labs here in Nova Scotia. Happy to be here this morning.
Nice. So, Sarah, do you have bird feeders already at your house?
I do actually. So I live about 45 minutes east of Halifax. So we have quite a nice variety of wild birds out here. So I have a couple that my son and I made last year out of wood, and then just kind of like some perches on some trees. So we have different birds seem to like to have different areas and different heights. So
Yeah. So far this year, I've noticed we have a lot of robins around. I don't know if that means I have good worms in my lawn, but there's been a lot of
yeah.
robins eating on the ground. We've seen some blue jays out in our way and some smaller songbirds as well. So we've got a good little mix going. I'm just gonna mute
That's
this other.
awesome. It's such a beautiful this time of year to wake up and I can actually hear them now outside. So another neat thing to do sometime would be look at the different identifiers and the calls. I know that I used to have a recorded playback for samples of birds, which you can now find on the internet, but it makes a really fun kind of game.
To like try and identify their song. That's neat.
Yeah. So if you can even like, not go outside and listen to them, or maybe go outside in the daytime, recognize what the bird looks like, and then come in and try to match that sound up by memory to something on the computer.
Nice.
It's a
That's
little
fun.
tricky.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of good reasons to be feeding birds around your house. One, it's kind of fun to see if you can attract different species, and you could even try and do some try and identify their noises or draw pictures of the ones that you see, and so you can get better at picking out what kind of birds are around. This time of year too, the birds are laying eggs. So to have a bird feeder around means that those birds will have a place that they know that they can go and get food so that they can go and have some seed and then come back and feed their babies too. So they're able to keep themselves well taken care of and are able to take care of their babies.
That's
Later
right.
on
And
in
they
the
actually
fall,
have
oh, sorry.
Oh,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. No, I said
No?
that's you made a good point because when they know that there's a safe place to have a food resource, they have pretty good memories, and they're able to go to that back to that spot, and they'll take note. If there's any predators around, which we'll talk about too when we're putting our bird feeder out. But it really is an opportunity for them to be able to put more focus on their little ones and their nesting.
Yeah. And in other times of the year, like in the fall, when a lot of birds are getting ready to migrate or to go south for the winter, it makes sure that those birds have, all the nutrients and they're healthy and ready to make that long flight too. So, uh, and of course, throughout the winter, when things are all covered in snow, it's really hard for them to find what they need. So to make sure that they have something to eat in the winter for the ones that stick around too is really helpful. So year round, lots of great reasons to try and help out our feathered friends.
Absolutely.
And Sarah and I have a story for you today. I'm going to pull it up and then Sarah can read it with you. Teachers, this book is on Epic and is actually has a pretty great connection to some stuff about matter, so like liquid, solids, and gases. So that's all in these little blue boxes throughout the book. So if you wanted to revisit this with your class and focus on that different aspect of it, that would make a great second read for your class, we were thinking. So it looks like
Absolutely.
my screen is up and ready for Javier's hummingbird. Sarah, go ahead.
Okay.
If you can
Thanks,
see it
Jeff.
okay. Is it big enough for you
I
to
can
see?
see it. Yeah, I can see it. I'm going to turn my camera back on here. I just wasn't sure if it was lagging a bit. Okay. Javier's Hummingbird by Laura Driscoll, illustrated by Bob Ostrom. Abuelo and I are watering our flower seedlings. Can we move them outside yet? I asked him. My grandfather smiles. Not until it's warmer, Javier. Spring will be here soon. Just then, I see something flit past the window. Did you see that? I asked. See, Abuelo replies, I did. We stare out the window as a tiny bird zips into view. It hovers in the air, then it rockets away. A hummingbird, I call out. He's a little bit early, Abuelo says. We see hummingbirds in our yard every spring and summer. They fly up from the south as the weather warms up. Then when the autumn arrives, they fly south again. I love watching hummingbirds fly. They can change directions in a flash. Their wings beat so fast that they're a blur. They can even fly backward and upside down. No other bird can do that. Rufus, Abuelo says as he thinks this one is a Rufos hummingbird, a male. I'm going to call him Rufus, I say. Time to put the feeder out, Abuelo says. He tells me that hummingbirds love red. It reminds them of the flowers when they get their food. We fill the red feeder with a mixture of water and sugar. To hummingbirds, it tastes like flower nectar. Delicioso, says Abuelo. Can I be in charge of the feeder this year, I ask. Abuelo smiles. Yes, Javier, I think you're ready, he says. Just remember to check it every day. Rufus is an early bird. He will need to get his food from us until the flowers bloom. The next day is very cold. My neighbor Anna and I can see our breath as we play basketball. Suddenly, Rufus flies by. Anna gasps and smiles. We stop our game to watch him. Rufus lands on the feeder, but only for a moment. Then he flies away. Why didn't he eat anything? Anna asks. I take down the feeder and open the lid. The nectar looks kind of cloudy. I poke at it. Tap, tap. It's hard. Ice, I say. Anna frowns. You can't really sip ice. I am in charge of the feeder, so I clean out the ice and refill it with fresh liquid nectar. I hang it outside. A little while later, we see Rufus sipping from the feeder. Anna gives me a high five. Problem solved. But the next morning, there's more ice in the feeder. I take it inside. When Abuelo wakes up, I show him the problem. Look, there's ice. I stop. The ice is gone. There was ice in the feeder, really. I believe it, Abuelo says. It's been cold outside overnight. Poor Rufus, I think. He's the first hummingbird here. He's probably lonely. And on top of that, his food is too cold to eat. I imagine eating food straight out of the freezer. Blah. I ask Abuela to take me to the store after school. I want to see if I can find something to keep Rufus nectar from freezing. The store has heaters of all kinds. At first, nothing looks right for him for keeping nectar warm. I search every shelf, and then I find it. Look, Abuelo, I say, an outdoor water bowl for pets. I read the package. The bowl plugs in. It keeps the water warm just enough so it won't freeze. Fantastico, Abuela says. That's great. You can put Rufus's nectar in there. Back at home, Anna is out on her yard. I call her over and show her the pet bowl. We plug it in and fill the bowl with fresh nectar. Will Rufus like it? Anna and I play checkers while we wait. Finally, Rufus flies over. He zigs and he zags over the new feed bowl. He's checking it out, but then he darts away. Aw, I moan. He didn't even try it. Then we see Rufus buzzing around Abuela's bright red sundial. I have an idea. The bowl is brown and boring, I point out, but Abuela says hummingbirds love red. I pour the nectar into Rufus's red feeder. I fill the pet bowl with plain water. Then I place the red feeder inside the bowl. The next time we check, Rufus is at the fever and he is having a snack. He likes it. And our solution works. The next morning, the nectar is still liquid. The heater kept it from freezing overnight. That afternoon, it's much warmer outside. I check the feeder again. This time, it's almost empty. Wow, Rufus must be super hungry, I say to Anna. Anna frowns. Did he really drink all of that? And one day, she looks like she can't believe it. She has a big picture of a big Rufus in her mind there. We take the feeder inside to fill it. The tea kettle is whistling. Abuela rushes in. Whoops, he says. I left it boiling too long. Almost all my water is gone. Gone, I say. Gone where? Into the air, Abuela explains. When you heat water, it turns into steam. It evaporates. I look at Anna. Is she thinking what I'm thinking? Javier, she says, during the day, it's warmer outside, plus a little extra heat from the pet bowl makes the nectar evaporate, I say. Maybe we don't need the heater during the day. Anna and I decide on a plan. When it gets cold at night, I plug in the pet bowl. I unplug it in the morning and when the temperature goes up. I follow the plan for a couple of weeks. I check the feeder twice a day. I make sure that there's always enough food for Rufus. Rufus seems to like our new plan. He also likes the new flowers. Now that the weather is warm enough to move them outside, it's warm enough to put the pet bowl away too. The nectar stays liquid without it, even at night. It looks like spring has arrived, but what about the other hummingbirds? Our regular bird feeder is crowded with songbirds, but Rufus is still all alone. I hear a whir close by my ear. I turn. Rufus is drinking at the feeder. I've never been so close to a hummingbird before. I stand very still so I don't scare him away. Rufus stops to look up at me. He takes a few more sips. Just then I hear Anna whisper, "Hey, hey." I slowly turn around. There's another hummingbird. It's hovering over Anna's shoulder. Rufus has some friends at last. I call Abuela to come and see. Abuela smiles at the hummingbirds whizzing around us. Excelente, he says. You know what we have to do now, Abby? I sure do. I tell him we have to make more nectar. So then we have Think Like a Scientist section.
Yeah, and this is where what some people might choose to do at home. If you know that you're in a place that has some hummingbirds, there's a little instruction here on how you can use, like we learned that they like red, so to use like a red cup, and you could put some of that, like a mixture of sugar and water into the cup and hang it so that the hummingbirds can get some food out of it. So another way to feed a different kind of bird.
Exactly. It's interesting that they're really attracted to reddish and pink colors, and that's likely because of the type of flowers that they get the most nutrition from that they associate that color with. So there's such beautiful little birds that I'm not sure if you've ever seen a picture of a hummingbird's nest, but they're so tiny, like the little nest itself and the egg, so tiny. It's precious, delicate little birds.
I remember last year we could see some of the babies around, like just when they were flying, but it's just like they're so tiny. Like their parents are small enough, but the babies are so cute flying around. It's
Yeah,
pretty nice to
yeah.
look. Well, you up for making something here, Sarah?
We are making something today. So we're going to do our own little birdhouses at home, and it's pretty simple to make with things that you have around the house. Here's my camera.
Yeah, I'm going to switch here too. So we are hoping that students will get to kind of invent their own designs. So we don't want to just kind of show one thing that everybody does the same. So depending on the materials you have at home, and maybe even the types of birds you have, or the types of foods that you have in your pantry or your cupboards, um, you can build something that you can test out and try. And maybe you make a first design and then you realize that it doesn't work out perfectly, but that's okay because you can just make changes to your design later and then try again and see if the birds like it more. So what are you working with there, Sarah? What do you have for your
I'm gonna move my bird
feeders?
buffet out of the way. So I have a variety of course, recycled boxes. So I have some stuff from the yogurts. I have a smaller little box that I so you can see a little bit better here. Just a few different size boxes that also have flaps that I left on there, so I can modify it as I go through the prototyping stage here, and then a larger box. I'm just going to kind of cut it up. I was thinking of getting a paper towel tube too, and I have some nice kind of painter's tape here. I do have some scotch tape, but I wanted to kind of stay away from the plasticky stuff. It may turn out that I need to use something a little stronger than painter's tape, but we'll find out.
Yeah, you make a great point about that plastic tape. We want to make sure that the things that we're using for the feeders are as environmentally friendly or as bird friendly as possible, because we would hate for the birds to peck at a little piece of plastic tape and to swallow it. Like that wouldn't be good for our designs.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
So yeah, we don't
so
want
like
them to. Sorry.
cardboard. No, it's okay. Cardboard is great. I have some like this is made of cotton but string. It's almost like a yarn. So just something that's not really plasticky if you can avoid it.
Exactly. Yeah. So yarn is good. I think we just want to make sure that it's strong enough to hold the weight if we are going to be hanging the birdhouse. But
Yeah,
it all
good point.
depends on how you're going to be positioning it.
Nice. So I'm gonna see how time goes. I know you're doing some with your box and stuff. I have some just plain Cheerios. I didn't want like the sugary kind or anything. So some plain Cheerios, and I'm going to. It's gonna kind of be like a almost like a holiday decoration. I'm gonna put some Cheerios on this string, and then I'll be able to hang that by a branch that hopefully some birds will be able to pick the Cheerios off.
Nice. Yeah, it is. It reminds me of when we used to make those for Christmas time or the holidays. We used to put the popcorn on the string, so that's great.
Yeah, I
And
was thinking
Cheerios are
similar with
perfect. Yeah, you
my
can fit the
popcorn could
right.
be similar. With the popcorn, though, I would probably need you probably would need an adult help because you might need to like actually use a needle with it to poke through the popcorn to get it to stay on your string. So that would be
Yeah,
if you
it's a
wanted
little.
to do popcorn on a string.
You would have to do that for sure. Sometimes those like plasticky cross stitch that you sometimes they come with craft kits might work, which
Right.
aren't exactly sharp, but you'd have to give it a try here. So I think I'm gonna go with like my larger box and make that the base of my feeder here, and I'm just gonna cut it just with my camera so that I have a little bit more space here.
Sarah, do you have anything other than birds that get into your bird feeders?
I do. Well, blue jays are birds, so that's not a problem. They seem to be a
Yeah.
very messy bird that they really like peanuts, so I kind of keep them in their own area with peanuts. But squirrels, we have a lot of squirrels.
Yeah.
And sometimes smaller rodents. I'm gonna say mice, but they don't really they're not able to get up as high as squirrels can when it comes to rodents, but I don't mind the squirrels. Some people do find them extremely pesky because they'll eat all of the birds' food.
We're convinced that there's some teamwork between different species at our bird feeder because like
nice.
the squirrel will go on and like shake it so the bird feed falls to the ground, and then the pheasants like to eat it, and then we do see some other critters around too that like to get into it. So they're all working together to get the
Yeah, they're working together sometimes whether they know it or not. So the ones that drop something don't always realize it, and the other ones are kind of waiting and watching. So it is quite and again, when we're talking about ecosystems and animals that thrive and live together in one area, it is really can be an ecosystem, and they help each other. So it's interesting because some people would say, well, why do you need to make a birdhouse? Birds live in nature, and squirrels, they should be able to feed themselves. But if we think about it over the years where we have moved into their habitat essentially, because they're usually there before us, because we're taking up more space and cutting down trees, it does help to help those species by creating something available for them. They still have things within nature to help themselves, but we do want to make sure that we're doing everything we can.
Yeah, you're totally right. They were there before us, so we'll be good neighbors.
Be good neighbors. So I'm going to keep this really simple, and then so that they can kind of perch in here. I am going to put something on the side to kind of stand on. But the fun thing is that I'm not sure if I'm going to decorate it or not. Like, this is a really bright yellow box, so I probably would almost look into what species of birds might be attracted to the yellow, or if I should make it a little more natural colored, like a green or a brown that you would see on a tree.
Yeah, that's interesting to consider. I wonder, I'd almost want to do two, like do one that's kind of really neutral, natural colors and maybe one more brightly colored and see if there's one that they prefer. That might be a fun experiment.
For sure, yeah, because I mean, like we just read a book about hummingbirds who really do like reds, which I'm going to have here. But if you have birds that primarily, stay within the treetops, there's not a lot of really bright flowers that grow higher up. So if we're talking about less ground, lower area birds and more that are higher up, if we're going to put the high up in the trees, then I think that maybe I would want to make it a little bit more low key colors.
Good thinking. Yeah. Okay, so I've got my Cheerio string all set here, so I'm going to put that one aside.
Looking good.
I also have some peanut butter. So I don't have any allergies, so you should make sure with families that this is a safe option. But another design for a bird feeder would be taking something like a paper towel tube, and I can put some like a thin layer of peanut butter on this tube, and then I could stick things to it. Like I do have some bird seed that I could stick to that. If I could get my popcorn to stick, that might be fun too. I have a feeling that's going to fall off though, but this is all about experimenting and seeing what's going to work. So we'll see.
Exactly. So I'm staying away from the traditionals. Like you can certainly, if you're working with cardboard, you can draw out a pattern and then cut the shape of the birdhouse and fold it together. There's a few different ones online if you want to do that. I'm gonna just see what I could do structurally to kind of use some triangles, because we know those are just one of the strongest shapes, and see if I can use that on the inside to give it some support and go from there. I think I'm gonna make the decision to actually flip this one around to the brown color, and then see what I might do. I might, like I said, color over the yellow. You made a good point, Jeff, about working when you're making your own birdseed, but also if you were to, so I have some birdseed here that I had loose in a bag from last year, and it doesn't go bad, but there are different seeds and nuts in here. So certainly if you do have an allergy, you want to make sure that you're aware of if you're using birdseed that you purchased. So always make sure you look at the ingredients. Okay, here.
I'm going to try and reduce my mess by doing this inside a box.
Trying to think of the best way to put the seed in where it's not going to fall out. Maybe I'll do that. I'm going to fold this box here. I didn't really pick one particular design to follow, so that's why I kind of wanted to have fun with the ideation and the prototyping process here. But now I'm a little bit confused of how this is going to function. It doesn't have to be like an upright birdhouse either. You could have it sitting or just hanging like that, as long as they have a place to go in and grab. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of tape here, and I'm just going to do the whole fold over and put it on one side, just so that I'm going to be hanging it so that it's kind of swinging like that, not like upright. So I think just a little bit of tape underneath the smaller box will keep it in place. Now, where we're working with paper and cardboard, it's bound to get a little damp, but I'm going to take that into consideration either by my placement, so maybe put it on my deck underneath something that's already sheltered, or possibly put something that's waterproof over it. I haven't made that decision yet.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm now you got me curious. What's going to happen first? Is nature going to get to this, or are the birds just going to clear it before anything, before the rain comes? I don't know how long I would expect this to last.
Well, this is really neat what you're doing there, Jeff, because you could essentially just make a few of those and hang them. And the smaller birds could land on the side and eat them that way. I mean, doesn't have to be an actual house. It could be just mine is starting to look like a bird trough. But I think I'm going to kind of cut down here to give them a little bit of space. And maybe flip it out to one side, so kind of like a door. It'll be interesting to see how they. Oh, right here. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to use the house, if they decide to use it at all. They might take one look at it and think, well, I'm not sure. It smells good, it looks good, but I don't know if I can get in there or perch on it. So I'm trying to reinforce that little perch there.
Nice. Yeah, I was just thinking that something, a feeder even just like this, just like something kind of shallow with some seed in it. If I put this on my, we have a deck outside our kitchen, it might be kind of cool to try and attract birds closer to the house so we can watch them from inside too.
That is a great way. And then if you were to make a nature journal, which is very easy to do, actually, you can just get some blank paper and maybe even use a cereal box for inside out or around so that you can decorate it, and then put it together with some string. You could have your own little bird watching journal, so that you could draw the pictures of the birds and what time of day you see them visit, and how many. So you're starting to collect some data there.
There we go. So I've got mine kind of strung up here, so I'd be able to hang this from a branch.
Oh, that looks great. It's actually really pretty. It reminds me of the holiday ornaments when you sometimes like you take an orange or something, you stick different clove pieces and stuff in for decoration to smell nice.
Yeah.
Reminds me of
Actually,
that. So
just had an idea to double this up. I could like combine my two designs because I could put Cheerios on the strings.
oh, that
The
would be
birds,
interesting
birds are
because
gonna
then
love it.
I don't know if they're gonna know to go for the string and sit on the food, or that would be a really interesting thing to
We'll
watch.
see.
But they have great balance, so they have that working in their favor. So this is my perch here. Um, it doesn't seem like it's gonna hold a lot of weight, but I really could reinforce that by adding a triangle here. These real triangles are strong shapes and they go like that. So that might be what I do. And then I'm gonna put my food. I'm just gonna put my food right in the top here. And it's gonna kind of
Nice.
fall down the sides, but I'm gonna run some tape along so that it doesn't.
And if you found that your design wasn't working right away, you would maybe make some new design ideas and add or change your design so that you can
That's right.
make
That's
it
what we
even
learned.
better for the birds. Think about the birds. What do they need?
Always think about the birds for sure. They are our friends. They help pollinate, and they're very important part of our diverse ecosystem here.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, I'm just looking at the time and I see it's 9:30.
Oh
So I
wow!
think how we will kind of end off here. So for teachers, if you wanted to have students do some kind of drawing or sketch now for some potential designs for what they might use, I know not everybody has their stuff collected already. So whether they do that later today or maybe even bring materials for tomorrow's class so you guys can do it together, it's totally up to you how you do it. But um, make a plan. What do you have around that would be really good for the food or the materials to make the bird feeder? And how will you best make something that's going to be really appealing for the birds in your neighborhood?
Exactly. Please do share. We love seeing the stuff that we're receiving via our Twitter and some emails coming in to see what you've been working on and following along with us the past few weeks. So we're really excited to appreciate you choosing the time to spend some time with us in the morning.
Yeah, we've got some plans started. We're going with a bee theme for next week. So all about the
Yeah,
pollinators next week if you want to join us again.
we're going to be brilliant.
Hey, there you go. All right. Well, have a fantastic day, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again in another week.
Thanks a lot. Have a great week.
Have fun making
Bye.
those bird feeders. Bye bye.
Yeah.